Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to talk to you today about how to get rid of overwhelm and trade that from feeling overwhelmed to being inspired and empowered. So, what I always tell people is that if you want to stop feeling so stressed out all the time, feeling like you've got a lot going on, scattered, your mind is very cluttered with a lot of different things that you have to do. Some that are just tiny little things that are nagging at you. Others are big things that you've kind of not been able to attend to because you just never seem to have that solid hour or two of time to be able to address it. And this makes you feel very overwhelmed and exhausted, not just physically, but mentally. It makes it hard for you to make powerful decisions and prevent mistakes that you otherwise wouldn't have made had you not felt so overwhelmed. And so, one of the things that I tell my clients to prevent feeling so overwhelmed all the time is to get clear on your values. Why? Because your values guide your decisions, what you say yes to, what you say no to. It serves as a roadmap for you to get clear on, will this help me or will this hinder me? Will this help me progress on this project or will this hinder me and backtrack me and distract me? Will this help me advance in my career and continue to climb up the ladder? Or will this just make me come across as a busy bee instead of leaderly? And so this is why it's really important that you get clear on who you are, starting with your core values. That's a great way to start to have more self-awareness. And some of these values could be like growth, challenge, work-life balance, success, stability. Let's take stability, for example. That's where you have a need for consistency, predictability, safe jobs, so job security. The long-term plans that you make in your career are not risky, they're safe ones. And so if you don't have your need for stability met, you're going to be met with anxiety. But if you have this huge sense of need for stability that's based off of fear of failure, fear of losing your job or losing your position, then that's going to make you play small. It's going to hold you back from your all, from realizing what all else you can accomplish, because it's so easy to get comfortable in our little space that we're familiar with. But when we think about venturing out into something new, the unknown can be anxiety provoking. And so our brains naturally try to protect us and hold us back from taking that step forward and venturing out in a new territory where we might not be familiar with it. And so when you're clear on your values, it can help you overcome these barriers to crossing to the other side of what's out there for you besides your comfort zone. Because if you value challenge, for example, then you're going to be more mindful of how you're not feeding that value. You're violating that value practically because you're not honoring your need for growth, for challenge, for new opportunities, for learning, for exploring, curiosity. Yeah. And what ends up happening, unfortunately, is when you don't listen to your values and align your career path or the projects you take on or the way that you lead, the way that you work, when you work, how you work, you'll feel unfulfilled sooner or later. And so this is why I stress the importance of knowing what matters to you most, so that your decisions aren't based off of what's going on in the moment, whatever's on your to-do list for the day, whatever incoming requests you're facing. It's based on a strategic plan that is aligned with who you are as a person, what you value most. That will help protect you from feeling overwhelmed because you'll be making intentional decisions instead of just letting everything come at you. You'll be able to take a moment, take a step back, and ask yourself, is this for me or not? Do I do it now or do I do it later? My current value is X. Is this going to make me move forward faster or move further away from the destination I'm working towards? And that's a much easier, less stressful way of handling things because you're functioning from a place of empowerment. You're not just letting yourself feel overwhelmed by everything that's coming in. You're actually taking a step back, not letting it affect you so much, holding it here, taking a look at it, and asking yourself, how do I want to handle this? How is it aligned with my belief system in terms of how I approach things? How are my values guiding me? If I value growth, then I want to take on this challenge because I want to grow. I want to stretch myself. I want to see how far I can go. Am I resisting it? Maybe it's not that you don't value growth. Maybe it's that the fear of growth and the unknown and potential failure is what is holding you back from pursuing that in the first place. So you have to really be aware of when your values are being violated. And you'll feel more empowered once you start to recognize that you have choices, you have options. When you make decisions from a place of aligned values rather than a place of, let me just get things done, there's no time to think, just do. It's a more strategic approach and you'll feel less overwhelmed. So the other thing that you can do is restructure the way that you interpret these things. So if you get an incoming request, for example, and you don't know whether or not to take it on, check with your values, right? And if there's a little voice in your head that says, no, do it anyways, ask yourself, okay, what is this voice trying to tell me? Usually it's trying to protect you, but it's actually sabotaging you because it's trying to protect you from something it doesn't want you to do so that you avoid potential failure. And so it's really important to listen to this voice and question it, not just listen to it and do what it says, but listen to it to peel back the layers of what's it here to tell me. And by being clear on your values, you'll be able to understand that a bit more. Let's say you value work-life balance and you find yourself working all the time. That's why, in part, you're overwhelmed. So you value work-life balance, but you have a voice in your head that's saying, do more, work harder. You have to work twice as hard to get half as far. You have to prove yourself. There's not a lot of people who come from where you come from in these positions of leadership. Don't slip. Don't let them think that you really don't belong there and don't know what you're talking about. You do, by the way. You do know what you're talking about. And so you have to listen to that voice in your head and ask yourself, like with work-life balance, am I violating this value of mine? Because I believe that I have to push myself harder. Now, if you value success, we can just redefine that. If you value hard work, ask yourself, do I really value this? Is this really who I am? Like, I love working all the time. It's actually my hobby. That's one thing. But if it's coming from a place of pressure to prove yourself, that's totally different thing that we're talking about here. And so that's why I tell you, get your thoughts out, put them here in your hand so you can evaluate them and have some distance between you and be able to restructure your thought process around this thing that you're handling that's causing you overwhelm, that's stressing you out, that's not making you feel empowered in your decisions, in your behaviors, in the actions you take or don't. So the way I do it is, okay, I value variety. Let's just say I value variety. Is this what I'm considering taking on going to be for or against my value for variety? If it's more of the same thing that I'm already doing that I'm not enjoying, then clearly I shouldn't do more of it unless it's going to get me to another place that I want to be. If it's like a stepping stone, then that makes sense. But if it's not a strategic decision that will lead you to somewhere else that you really want to be at, then I wouldn't do it at all. unless you just kind of have to, because like I said, it's part of something that's bigger, and it's just a piece to that bigger puzzle. Um, and so when I ask that question, then you're able to make an empowered decision of whether you pursue it or not. So this is how I want you to think. Like, don't just say yes to everything. Don't just feel so overwhelmed by everything that's coming in at you and feeling like you have to do all the things all at once or do everything at some point. Get clear on your values. Your values guide your decisions about what you say yes to or no to. Your values have you on the path of where you want to be. And you'll feel more empowered once you have that clarity of who you are and what matters to you most. So I really recommend that you shift your mindset from feeling overwhelmed to feeling more in control. And by leveraging your values in helping you make the decisions as to what you say yes to and what you say no to in a strategic way. I hope this was helpful. If you want any more support with this, have any questions about it, feel free to message me and I'll get back to you. I'm Dr. Lizette, and I'll talk to you next time.